We're trying to continue to grow our Alabama football channel here, so we need your help to make that happen. Hit that sub button. In exchange, you get free Bama videos almost every single day, and we get to continue to grow and become the #1 Alabama football YouTube channel. Coming up on today's show, some more transfer portal discussion. It's not even officially opened until next week, but there are some names going in earlier. We'll also discuss rants about the CFP committee as they continue to make weird choices this year. But let's begin with the cornerback room and the transfer option that is now out there. Alabama will lose some notable corners this year. Kool-Aid Mckinstry is gone. He's going to be off to the NFL. Malachi Moore is going to be gone. Jaylen Key is going to be gone. And you might be down Terrion Arnold as well. Could end up being a first-round pick. Now, Key and Moore won't be. But you could be down 4 starters in your secondary. McKinstry, Arnold, Key, and Moore. Caleb Downs will be back, but boy, are you thin at corner if you lose McKinstry and you expected to lose McKinstry, and if you potentially lose Arnold, as some recent buzz, especially the mock drafts out there, have indicated. The non-starter DB coverage snaps this year, i.e. basically non-garbage time when you're just stopping the run, whatever. Kristian Story's played, he's a safety. Earl Little II, DeVonta Smith, Jake Pope, Antonio Kite. It's not, Trey Amos has not played a ton so far this year. It's just a thin group at corner. So there is some rationale to being like, maybe you should look into adding a transfer corner or two. Because you can't, in the modern day college football, you have to use the free agency option. So what is your confidence level in next year's DB group? Scale it from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. There is some good depth there. I do think it is more in the safety room than it is in the cornerback room, but DBs can move around. We've seen that before at Alabama. It's also not the most experienced depth group. Now, there are some talented guys. You might get to see some play in the near future. So I wouldn't be shocked, just like they did last year, Alabama goes to the portal to look to add some talent in the secondary. The names entering right now are not all of the biggest names. I think you're going to see some more movement with some legal tampering, or maybe illegal tampering, to come in the coming weeks. But Upton Stout is one name I do want to mention here. That is the Western Kentucky player who is already into the transfer portal. 58.6% completion rate, 207 yards allowed, 4 pass breakups, 1 interception, 0 TDs allowed, only targeted 26 times in coverage for Western Kentucky, only played 7 games. Notable name, kind of in the same mold as like a Trey Amos or a Jaylen Key. Smaller school guy who could make the big jump up to the Alabama SEC level. So would you like to add a cornerback in the transfer portal? Y for yes, N for no. It's the pinned comment of today's video. We'll have, I'm sure, more names in the future. But if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Let's move now to some college football playoff committee conversation where they once again kept Alabama at number 8, which still don't really agree with. So what we'll show you next here are the questions asked by Reese Davis to members of the CFP committee as part of the ESPN show, which most of us turn it off once the rankings are. I think there's some good insight to potentially glean for the rationale given by the committee here. First up, the question from Reese Davis. Could either one of you give me a sense of the pecking order of criteria that the committee will use next week when determining top 4? I know it's hypothetical, but should Alabama and Texas both finish 12-1 with one spot available, how do you determine which one gets in? Bill Hancock said, quote, "Thank you for asking. Those tiebreaker criteria are not prioritized, so it'll be up to the judgment of each committee member which of the tiebreakers are more important to him or her. There's just no established priority for the tiebreakers." To translate, I don't know. There isn't a pecking order of the criteria, which I guess is fine. It can't be so black and white that it becomes too rigid, but it also leans too much into the, we're going to wing it and go with it. And that's why every year as the committee members change, the rules change. It's like, who's leading the way? There's no rules, there's no changes. It all just kind of adjusts and goes chaotically. And I kind of find that very frustrating. I believe the game should matter. I believe Texas should be in over Alabama. I know that's not fun, but there's no point in playing the actual games if we're just going to ignore the results of them. It's also why Ohio State should not get in no matter what. barring like some weird chaos, everyone moves scenarios, they shouldn't get in. It should be conference championship winners who gets in. Speaking of that, here's what Boo Corrigan said, another high-ranking member of the committee. Just to add on to that, there's so many great games coming up this weekend. 7 of the 8 teams are playing in conference championship games, and quite frankly, we're all looking forward to watching them. It's been a great year this season, and we're looking forward to seeing how it all ends up. Thanks for that, Boo, or Bo. You want to drop the O from it? It doesn't make any sense. That doesn't add anything. You're just speaking in generalities and general praise. Of course we're excited for the games. No shit. It's going to be an awesome set of college football matches, a bunch of ranked teams. It's conference championship weekends. You didn't add anything by saying it. You didn't give any information about the rankings whatsoever. It's just a empty platitude is all that was. Reese Davis also asked this on the 5 to 8 order. Can you take us through the discussion between Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Alabama, and how you guys kind of figured out that order? Here's what Boo Corrigan said. The good news is everyone is weighing into everything, whether their opinions are what their point is on each one of those teams. All 11-1, all with good wins, all obviously have lost the game. And looking at it as we came through the evaluation of that, after weighing many points and making sure we took our time going through it, we ended up where we did at 5, 6, 7, 8. No insight whatsoever. No specific answer. We talked about it. We ranked the teams 5, 6, 7, 8 the way we did because of the way we did it. The question was, why did you do it? And the answer was, well, we did it. I still don't understand why Oregon is at 5. And I think that everything else, like I'm fine with. Oregon being that high against a schedule that has not been that daunting does not make much sense to me. I'm fine with Texas being over Alabama. OSU doesn't actually matter because they're not playing in a conference championship game. So who cares? What I'm asking for is a real answer. Why is Oregon above Texas, and et cetera, and Bama? Why? That answer still has not been given out quite yet. More on this to come, but first, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. You can mix and match NFL, NBA games, college football, NFL, college football, NBA as well. I've also got a conference championship game prize pick slate. Give me more than 1.5 J.J. McCarthy total scores. Not convinced it's going to happen, but Iowa's defense is good, but at some point he's got to throw it some. More than Troy Franklin receiving yards and more than Jalen McMillan receiving yards, what I think will be a shootout in the Pac-12 championship game. Again, folks, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 on the largest independently owned DFS platform in North America. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. I think a great tiebreaker here is strength of schedule, strength of record, right? Who have you played? The one-loss team's strength of schedule this year. OSU is 6th, Texas is 13, Alabama is 31st, Oregon is 62nd. This has been a problem before in the CFP. There isn't actually much incentive to play good teams out of conference. If this is going to be the end result, what they've done here is penalize Bama for playing a top 6 team out of conference or top 7, whatever. That's what happens here. By putting Oregon with basically going off of they've blown out crappy opponents, we're saying strength of schedule does not matter. That's what we're doing here. Oregon has looked good against all the teams they've played outside of Washington. And if Oregon beats Washington, okay, so be it. But I would say that the Georgia would be better than anything Alabama's had, than anything Oregon's had all year, right? Strength of schedule needs to matter more. Like this argument, the committee is like, oh, we're trying to get the 4 best teams in, and then kind of like play both sides of what best actually means. Should be the 4 most impressive teams, right? 4 most deserving teams. You can't tell me if Oregon and Bama both win that Oregon's vastly more deserving than Alabama. I just don't buy it. So should strength of schedule matter more? A for yes, B for no, sound off for me in the comments section. A good note here from Reese Davis as well, and then we'll get to some more thoughts on this. At this point in the season, a team ranked 8th has never gotten to the college football playoff. Is there a road for Alabama to get in the top 4, whether it just be Georgia or beat Georgia and get some help? Is there a road for Bama at this point? Here's what Boo said. Conference championships and head-to-heads and everything that we look at per the protocol will be in full effect of what we're doing and making sure that we make the right decisions. What does that even mean? You couldn't have just said, yes, of course? Like, there's obviously a path, by the way, but it does become complicated. Now, you're going to have Michigan, we assume, get in. You're going to have, we assume, the Florida State maybe get in. If Florida State loses, that helps you out there, but you're not going to leave out undefeated conference champions. If you can blow out Georgia, that goes nice way. Clearly, style points matter for this committee. Still. And they might elect to ignore the quality, which they've kind of done this year, because they've had Washington ranked low all year, despite having the best win over Oregon. We've noticed that, right? It's very strange. I think what has to happen now for Bama, take care of what you can take care of. Take down Georgia. If this all becomes a moot point if they don't, and that's fine, we knew that going into it, you might need some help. I think Michigan's going to win, so Michigan is in there. I am unconvinced Florida State will win. I am unconvinced. I think Texas is going to win, by the way. And Texas is your big leapfrog there. Because if you're going to put in a Pac-12 champion no matter what, then you kind of need FSU to lose, which they might, being banged up at quarterback. Reese Davis also asked about the Texas-Alabama difference here. How much separation does the community see between Texas at 7 and Alabama at 8? Boo said, yeah, same thing again. It's close. As you look at it, you can look at any part of what we're doing when you get here, the different groupings and everything that we do. But two really good teams have done really good years, done a great job by Sark and by Coach Saban. We'll just continue to evaluate. These guys don't say anything. Like, why can't you just say, hey, head-to-head matters? Because it should, right? These aren't answers. They're just general platitudes and generalities, and they sound like politicians, like they are. Like they are politicians. It annoys me to no end. That one spot matters. That second spot matters. OSU's not a factor. We know that they're not going to get in. At 7, you have a better chance. If you'd put Oregon at 8, or Oregon at 7, you'd have a better shot. It would be a record-setting jump for Alabama. It is worth mentioning this is the first game the committee will all actually watch together, which they don't watch the games. We know that they don't do that. But at 8, you're in a really tough spot. If you win and you get sent home and you get screwed, so be it. I don't think Bama had any real arguments last year. They certainly do this season. But if you beat Georgia, that is the best win in college football this year. And I still think the committee would find a way to screw somebody else than to screw the SEC one-loss champion Alabama if they're going to have to leave somebody deserving at home. So prediction time. Will Alabama get into the college football playoff if they beat Georgia? I for they get in, O for they get left out. Sound off in the comments section.